3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. Hope you're all having a great night, day, weekend, whenever you're checking this out. I've got a review for... finally. Cross your arms, everyone. Got a review for Wakanda Forever, which is, of course, the latest Marvel film written, produced, directed by the brilliant Ryan Coogler, who, of course, you know from Fruitvale Station, Creed, the original Black Panther, which, of course, grossed over $1 billion. So, all right. So, I saw this opening night. I might have mentioned it, but my partner and I have been moving, so that's why reviews haven't been going up. But I was really, how do I put this? I was very concerned heading into this movie. Even seeing the trailers, because the trailers are excellent. That teaser trailer with No Woman, No Cry mixed in with Kendrick's All Right is absolutely incredible. And the official trailer, which I did a breakdown of, which you can check out if you would like, I thought that trailer was incredible as well. The use of music, the use of the score is just haunting and beautiful, and you feel the presence of our fallen king. You feel the presence of Chadwick Boseman. And look, I came on the show when Chadwick died, and I talked about how unfair it was. And how, a piece of shit like Rupert Murdoch gets, to live into his fucking 70s, and Chadwick, doesn't get to see 50. It's not fucking fair. It's truly not. A young man who had so much left to fucking give, and racist pieces of shit like Murdoch get to spread their bullshit late into their life. It's not fucking fair. And I'm still angry about it. I will not lie. I'm still angry about it because there are so many more stories to tell with Chadwick. There's so many stories left to tell of T'Challa. His partner misses him. The world misses him. Watching that interview, I want to say it was on Good Morning America with Chadwick's widow, was fucking heartbreaking. I'm just like, I believe her name's Simone. I don't want to get it wrong, but I think that's right. Yeah, Simone. Okay, I'm happy. Hearing Simone Boseman's words, fucking heartbreaking. It's not fucking fair. And what I appreciate about this movie is that the movie acknowledges that. It's not fucking fair. It's not fair that Wakanda has to bury their second king since the MCU started. It's not fair that Shuri lost her brother. It's not fair that Queen Ramonda has to bury her son. No parent should have to bury their kid. It's not fair. And the movie really acknowledges that. The movie acknowledges how unfair it is. The movie acknowledges that you're allowed to grieve, that you're supposed to grieve. And I give this movie has a brass set because it opens up with T'Challa in peril and Shuri trying to save him. And the way that scene plays out, obviously we know T'Challa doesn't make it. The way that Ramonda, played again by our amazing queen Angela Bassett, the way that her and Letitia Wright interact in that scene, Ryan Coogler pulled off a magic trick that no one thought he could pull off. And look, I feel like I am a very optimistic person, especially when it comes to Marvel. I've talked about it. I don't think Marvel really misses. I think Marvel's great. But I was worried about this. And I was sitting here going, oh God, Ryan Coogler, he proved the haters and the racist pieces of shit wrong with the first Black Panther. Oh God, can he do it again when he loses his star? And the short answer is yes. Yes, he can. And what is so impressive about the magic trick that Coogler pulls off is that the way he handles the grief and the way that you feel Chadwick's presence throughout the film. I don't think you could make this movie without addressing it, because I've seen those posts of how dare Marvel use Chadwick's death to, sell tickets and blah, 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 that ignorant bullshit. This is really in line with something like Furious 7, where, of course we lost Paul Walker. I thought the film does a really great job of handling Brian's passing. Now, granted, what they've done afterwards, that's a whole other conversation. I will simply say I have not been thrilled with the way they've handled Brian's character post Fury 7. The way that they handle it here, you feel the weight of losing T'Challa. Lupita Nyong'o, who of course plays Nakia, you don't get to see Nakia till pretty late in the film. Oh, you know what? By the way, I should just get this out of the way now because I'm dancing around stuff. Full spoilers. I do need to go full spoilers to talk about everything that I really want to talk about. So, Nakia, I love the way that we do find out that her and Chadwick continued to see each other and that they reconciled. But what's so fascinating is that you find out basically, if you're paying attention, that Koye, Nakia, Shuri, Ramonda, they didn't get raptured. Neither did M'Baku. A lot of Wakanda did get raptured, and of course we know T'Challa did. Shuri did, actually, never mind. It's kind of crazy how you think about how the whole theme of grief is just this cloud over the film, very intentionally. When we open up with the celebration slash the funeral for T'Challa, first off, the casket that they have for T'Challa was something that alone made me cry. If you're a crier, definitely bring tissues, because I'll tell you right now, my partner grabbed me a bunch of napkins, and I probably went through conservatively 20 napkins at least, and that's not including Kleenexes. I was just sniffling and really crying throughout most of the film because I just wasn't. I knew it would be emotional. I didn't know it would be this emotional, but the way that that T'Challa's death is handled is done very respectfully. You feel, as I mentioned, the weight of it. It's beautiful. Wakanda loved T'Challa, and you can feel Ryan Coogler really walking this fine line of, oh, no crying. You can feel Ryan Coogler walking this fine line of taking the real life grief, and it brings out the best out of these performances. Letitia Wright, look, I've talked a lot of shit about Letitia Wright. I would take nothing back, by the way. Girl, wear a mask, get your COVID shot for fuck's sake. But she brought it in this movie, and she needed to. People were looking at her like, okay, what you got? You know, you can step up or not. And she's not the little sister in this movie. She is the one feeling the weight of losing her brother the most. And it's crazy. You know, I've talked about my siblings on the pod before, but it's one of those relationships where you go like, holy fuck, how would you even comprehend moving on without a sibling? Because siblings, it's a different sort of relationship that you have. And with Shuri and T'Challa, not just the fact that she was his Q, but that was his fucking sister. And you felt how much they loved and cared about each other. And Shuri is just hurting in this movie. And she's hurting in a way that's so human and so vulnerable. And Letitia Wright brings this rawness to her performance. And anytime you just see her crying, or anytime you just see her holding those tears back, or you feel her anger directed at someone, there's this point where M'Baku, like, she's flat out yells at M'Baku, and M'Baku kind of looks at her like, no one else would be able to get away with what you just did, but he understands how she's hurting. It's similar in ways to how Rocket is hurting and pushing people away, and how Yondu is kind of that mirror for Rocket to realize he needs to, change a little bit. Winston Duke, I just gotta shout Winston Duke out because I love Winston Duke. If you've listened to the podcast, you know how much I love Us. You know how much I love 9 Days. If you've not seen 9 Days, please watch 9 Days. It fucking rules. And Winston Duke's incredible in that. M'Baku, yeah, he's still the sassy black uncle who's talking shit to everybody. He's still that dude. But man, there is a vulnerability to M'Baku and what he means to his people when he ends up meaning to Wakanda, without getting too spoilery. Winston Duke has a level and a gravitas to his performance here that's really needed and well crafted on the male side. Because I gotta say, with losing Chadwick Boseman, we get, and I mean, we got it in the first film too, but we get it even more fleshed out here. The strong black women representation in this movie. Oh my God. So first off, Angela Bassett should get an Oscar nomination. She should probably fucking win, honestly. There's this scene that happens early on in the movie where as I predicted, all these fucking countries are like, oh, the black people are weak. Let's go to Wakanda and let's steal their vibranium. And Queen Ramonda, the speech she gives at the UN that you see in the tease in the trailer, that scene is one of my favorite scenes in the MCU. It is fucking epic. It gave me goosebumps. Angela Bassett delivers her lines with such conviction and fierce and a virtuosity that I went, God damn, girl, this is how you do this shit. Angela Bassett's incredible in this. If she does not get a Best Actress nomination, Best Supporting Actress, I would say probably Best Supporting Actress because Letitia is the star in this. But Angela Bassett, she deserves the fucking nomination. She's incredible. She's fucking incredible in this movie. I gotta get to Namor, played by Tenoch Huerta. He's incredible in this movie. And if you are a comic book fan, you know how much of an asshole Namor typically is. I mean, yes, he ends up being a great Avenger, but Namor's an asshole. And the way that he goes about protecting his people, it's my one real complaint about the movie. And I'll just kind of get out of the way quick. Riri Williams is introduced in this movie, who's played by Dominique Thorne, the amazing Dominique Thorne. You, of course, know her from Judas and the Black Messiah and If Beale Street Can Talk. She's fucking amazing in this. And the whole surface world beef that Namor has, when you get into his origins, and I know I said full spoilers, but I'm gonna let people discover that part for themselves. But I love the way that they show his history, but his whole beef with the surface world is because Riri Williams can basically make this machine that can find vibranium, but Namor's people happen to have vibranium too because of a potential second meteorite, which, when you think about the earthquake that was referenced in Infinity War, or in Endgame, pardon me, that actually makes a ton of sense. Could have happened then. But basically, he wants to kill Riri because she goes ahead and builds this machine. There are other people who could build that machine. It's not just her. Yes, she is the child prodigy, but there are definitely other people who would be able to put this machine together. So the fact that he's so intent on killing Riri in particular, it's a little flimsy as far as the motivation, independent of what happened with his mother, and realizing that him having the connection to Wakanda in the sense of realizing that this is what they do when we get power. That's the motivation that I wish they would have leaned to a little more, versus him wanting to just kill Riri because she built this machine that can find vibranium. That's really my only gripe, and that's really quite a small gripe, because the way he brings it in this movie, there is a scene early on with Lake Bell. They don't say who Lake Bell plays. I don't even think in the credits they say what her name is. She's going to be important later on, because I don't believe you get, in the same way that Catherine Hahn wasn't just in WandaVision to just be, a pretty face, even though, stepmommy is. But the fact that they don't say who Lake Bell is making me go, that's interesting. I'm going to call she's a mutant. I'm just going to throw that out there. You heard it here first. There is this siren song thing that Namor's people do that, once it's activated, it really makes you go, man, Ryan Coogler should do a horror movie, because when they're introduced, the way the telecanals are portrayed here, it's fucking creepy. We initially see them at night, and the way that they pop out of the water with this siren song, it's horrifying. And anytime they pop up, there is this sense of dread of, oh man, things are not going to go well. And the way that Coogler handles them and frames them, I thought was fucking badass. And I got excited when I heard that siren song. I got nervous, but I got excited as well. And I just thought it kicked so much ass whenever they were on screen. Also, the way that they call Namor Kukulkan, Khan, his whole origin, as I mentioned, his origin's really well done. And the way that the underwater city looks is fucking perfect. I talked about it in my initial review of Black Panther, even though I will admit I went back and watched it, and while it's definitely could have used some improvement, I don't think it's not game-breaking bad for me. But the last fight scene in Black Panther, it's on some video game shit. Let's call it what it is. It's definitely got that, almost really good PS3 looking graphics to it. The underwater stuff in here in particular has it's just beautiful. I just felt immersed in the world. Like I know I talked shit on Avatar, and I probably will next month too, but this is what I want for Avatar. I was like, this looks fucking great. Give me more of this. It's beautiful. And when Namor goes ahead and ends up showing Shuri around because of circumstances, I thought it was just beautiful. And I cannot wait to go back to that world and see more of it. And the bits that we do get are super well done. And yeah, I love the way it's absolutely shot. There is a balance between the action and the drama in this movie. This movie is almost 3 hours. It's like 2 hours, 45 minutes, something like that. And I gotta say, I did not feel the runtime whatsoever. It's kind of amazing how quickly this movie flows and the rhythm that it gets into. I think from jump, the movie definitely cools you off at points, but it's definitely done intentionally for the emotional beats, because there's a lot of emotional beats in this movie. You see it in the trailer where Namor goes ahead and invades Wakanda. And when he invades Wakanda, that whole scene is straight out of Marvel Comics where he floods Wakanda. That shit is fucking heartbreaking, because seeing all these Wakandans fighting for their lives, struggling because they're about to fucking drown. It's a haunting image, and Namor goes ahead and has this presence over Wakanda when he does invade. It feels, it feels very colonizer. It's really quite scary, and the way that it's handled was something I love the sense of dread that this movie is painting with the circumstances that are surrounding Wakanda. So, all right, I gotta get into a few other things here before I get out of here. I love the storyline of Shuri, not because she's just grieving, but because being a woman of science and speaking about how the Wakandans pray to Bast, the fact that she is struggling with the fact that she's one of the smartest people, not just in Marvel, but in the fucking world. She's one of the smartest people who is literally breathing in air. And the fact she couldn't find a way to save her brother, and how that clashes with the religion. I love that subplot, and the conversations that her and Ramonda have about that, I found incredibly captivating and very raw and very real. Because, I mean, look, I've talked about my faith before and how, it's something I struggle with at points, because, you have to accept that you're going to lose people. We could get into the whole, oh man, if God, was just, why is this happening? It's a whole separate other conversation, but it's one of those things where I went, wow, I love that they're going here. And Ryan Coogler really gave his cast so much room to breathe and go ahead and deliver these very dramatic performances while working through their grief. They really do kind of work in tandem, and the way that Coogler threads that needle is incredibly impressive. I know I already mentioned Dominique Thorne. I love the way that she's in the movie just enough. She doesn't overshadow the movie. She doesn't feel shoehorned in, but we get just enough of a glimpse of her, Riri Williams, very much in the same vein as America Chavez in Multiverse of Madness. We get just enough of her to get excited about what her future in the MCU is going to be like. And Ironheart has actually finished production, so I'm very excited to see to see what she does as she continues on her journey. But I loved her in this. She gets such a good burn on Okoye that I was pleasantly surprised at how well she burned her. I was like, oh, wow, okay, you have more guts than me, because I wouldn't have said that shit. But love the way that she factors in later on in the film as well. I haven't talked about the action too much, but the action is very well spaced out. It's very well spaced out. The last fight in particular, while I prefer the aftermath of the last fight more because of the whole conversation between T'Challa and Killmonger, the actual fight itself in this, I actually prefer it here. Because we get Black Panther versus Namor, and I already said spoiler alert, so I can spoil it. Shuri is the new Black Panther. I fully acknowledge I wanted it so badly to be Nakia. I wanted to be Nakia so badly, but it's Shuri. And I will say, given the journey that Letitia Wright goes on, I am excited to see where Shuri ends up taking the mantle, especially with where her character ends up. I'm very intrigued about that. But the fight between Black Panther and Namor is fucking badass. It's hard hitting. It's pretty fucking brutal too, considering she just got the mantle. And there's a lot in that fight that I really appreciate. I appreciate how raw it is. I appreciate how violent it is. I appreciate that Namor doesn't hold back, because I'm sorry, it's a woman. He's gonna go ahead and not fuck her up. Like, as terrible as that sounds, but he's fighting for his people. He's like, okay, no prisoners. It's a very personal and hard hitting fight, and I love that about it. And especially where Namor ends off, I will say, without spoiling anything. That brings me to the mid-credits scene. And this felt like Ryan Coogler thinking 3 steps ahead. Like, everyone else is playing checkers, but Coogler is playing chess. And I mean that in the sense of, we find out that Nakia and T'Challa had a kid. And it's Prince T'Challa. His name is T'Challa. Nakia is off reservation. She's not in Wakanda. She's off grid, basically. When they lay out the fact that they didn't want him growing up around all that, they want him to be his own person and be his own man. I mean, he is the rightful head to the throne. He'll be the next Black Panther. That's happening. Like, this film confirms that. But that's such a natural way to continue Chadwick's legacy and not make it feel cheap. And I love that for the movie. And let's call it what it is too. I'm sure Ryan Coogler went to Marvel and went, Letitia Wright could act a fool again. Do we really want to take a chance of someone we might need to remove being the only person who could be Black Panther? I completely get that from a PR perspective, and yet it feels so natural here, because if you are a comic book reader and read Black Panther, T'Challa has a kid with Storm in the comics, and so T'Challa having a kid is not unfounded. But the way that they present it here, I just went, I love that. I love how incredibly natural feeling that feels for this world, and it gives me a reason to get to stay excited, because will Letitia Wright be a great Black Panther? We don't know. I'm very curious to see what her arc is going to be and what stories they potentially adapt. But the fact is, there is that ace in the hole that they can go ahead and bring up if they need to, whenever they need to. I'm very happy that Marvel made that decision, because that really was once she gets to heart-shaped herb, I just went, God damn it, it's gonna be Shuri. Fuck, I don't want it to be Shuri. And I will admit, part of my enjoyment was lessened slightly by the fact that it is Shuri's Black Panther. As I've said before, Marvel typically knows what they're doing, so I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. There is other stuff here, but I'm going to be honest, I don't want to just break down on microphone and start crying. So I'm just going to point out a couple other things. Ludwig's score, it's fucking perfect. He'll probably get another nomination. He'll probably win again. The score is absolutely incredible, and the way that they actually mix the score with the pop music from the soundtrack, it doesn't feel whorish in the way that it normally does, where sometimes the songs don't fit the mood at all. The music, the songs that are actually used off the soundtrack really do actually enhance the film and drive the narrative, and it does fit the mood in which the songs are in, which is something I was very impressed with. I got to shout her out again here, or shout her out for the first time in this review. Ruth Carter, who did the costume designs again for Wakanda Forever, she's getting another nomination. She'll probably win. The costumes are absolutely fucking perfect. I love the way everything looks. There's this kind of, I don't want to say mark armor, but kind of mark armor that the Wakandans get later on in their big final fight, and it looks fantastic. The new Black Panther suit looks great. I know I haven't laid out everything in this movie, but I want people to kind of discover shit for themselves. But I adore this movie. I'm not comfortable saying it's better than the first one, because I have only seen this once, and I've probably seen Black Panther start to finish 20 times easy. But the fact that this movie, the fact that I'm even having that conversation with y'all, I think speaks volumes about the movie. The fact that this movie just didn't fall into the fucking ocean is a fucking miracle. I don't know how Coogler pulled this off, but he did. Like at the end of the day, Ryan Coogler pulled this off. This movie is doing well, even though it's not as rated as high on Rotten Tomatoes as the first one was. It's still certified fresh. People are seeing it. And I'm just really happy for Ryan Coogler. I'm really happy at Ryan Coogler. He once again is able to shut the fucking haters up and make another great superhero film. This is something I will buy first day. I look forward to watching it here in the comfort of my own home and being able to cry and not being somewhat self-conscious about a bunch of white people staring at me as I'm weeping. I'm gonna go A+ on this. I need to kind of see it again to think to know if it's a fan-fucking-tastic or not. It's so close to the Batman, and it's going to be really hard to rank those movies because both of these will be, the Batman and this will be on my top 10 list. It's going to be a matter of just which one I put ahead, but I love both films for completely different reasons. But they also both talk about grief, which I find fascinating. These would actually weirdly be probably a good double feature with each other, honestly. But yeah, this is a solid A+. It's so close to a fan-fucking-tastic, but I want to see it again before I go there. So yeah, A+ for now. But this is an absolutely incredible movie. Ryan Coogler, you brilliant son of a bitch, you pulled this off. I'm not wearing a hat. I wish I was, so I could tip my cap to you. But bravo, sir, and everyone who's in this movie just brought it, and I'm so happy that this film worked out as well as it did. Yeah, I'm so happy at this. God, I love this movie. All right. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Have you seen it? What'd you think of it? Let us know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow us on pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music. Oh my gosh, where else? Samsung Podcast at The Real Pineapple. You can find all my reviews, all the places I just listed, or you can find them all at Nevada Film Critics Society.com. Got a whole list of my reviews there. You can also like both our pages on Facebook at The Real Pineapple and Real Pineapple Games. And you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/JHunterRealPineapple. Follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam, and find me on TikTok at Black Shazam775. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll have reviews coming up here for the holidays, including a review for Klaus, a review for National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and some other Christmas stuff. I haven't decided everything yet, but I'll get going on that. Let y'all know what's going to be coming out. But we'll have reviews up as well for that. Glass Onion, Disenchanted and Enchanted, and the original Avatar, which I have not watched since it came out on Blu-ray. So I'm going to be rewatching that in preparation for the new Avatar, which I'm so excited about. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe out there. Take care of each other. Wear your mask. Have a safe holiday, and we'll talk to you soon.